Chair Banfield. Bright. Fitzgerald.
Here.
Hodo.
Here.
McNiff. Severson.
Here.
Stewart.
Here.
Zuck. And Underhill. You have a quorum.
Thank you. Does anybody want to make a motion to approve the absence of the 4 commissioners? Excuse.
I make a motion to excuse the absent commissioners.
Support Fitzgerald.
Any comments? Those in favor of the excusing of the commissioners signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Same. The first, item number 3, and the first item is to approve the minutes of the regular December 10th, 2025 Planning Commission meeting. And I'll entertain a motion to do that.
So move, Stewart.
Hodo.
Move Stewart, supported Hodo. To approve. Any changes, corrections? Hearing, seeing none, those in favor of the motion to approve the minutes signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, the same. Motion carries. The next item on the, is to approve the agenda as presented, and I'll entertain a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
Mr. Chair, could I make a motion
Yes, sir.
to the agenda? So I'd like to make a motion to amend the agenda to add an item under number 8 to appoint a new member to the Joint Planning Commission.
Brandon, do you have that? Anything else? With the one additional item under, we'll call that 8A. Hearing no other, those in favor of approving the agenda with the one addition signify by saying aye. Oh, I'm sorry.
I will support that motion.
Thank you, Commissioner Hodo. And now, those in favor of approving the agenda signify by saying aye.
Aye. Aye.
Those opposed, the same. And we have two times for public comment, and the first one is next, public comment on agenda items. Anyone for public comment on agenda items? Mr. Adams?
And all of a sudden, what are the details about the new member of the Joint Planning Commission? Place someone or to add an additional person, and in doing so, would alter the parity in voting. Fairest way to ensure that the decisions of the Joint Planning Commission have mutual benefit to no new member that's been created asymmetrical points the progression of things.
Barry, can I just stop you 1 second? It's to replace someone who's stepping down.
Okay, all right, that answers my question.
Yep. We'll still have 3 from the city with 1 alternate.
All right, then. And referring to the capital improvement plan, nice to be able to look at those documents and make head or tail out of it. Put in a font that's so small, it's not even legible. Do that, put out a magnifying glass on the table up there. sticking points on this, and I'm saying, really is quite an uprising among the people. Talking about what's going on in the city is that data center thing is going too far. Real change.
Seeing no other public, we'll close the public comment on agenda items, and we'll move on to public hearings and subsequent board action. And I'm going to open the public hearing. Would you like Marguerite to say anything prior to that, or we're all set?
Well, I mean, I could kind of introduce it if you'd like, but I think holding a public hearing for,
Okay, well, I'll open the public hearing then in regards to the capital improvement plan 2026 through 2032. And would anyone like to speak to that, please?
Pretty much now. Again, who is to know what the intentions of this capital improvement plan is when it's not even a legible document? So many times, and this ends up resulting in the overall criticism of transparency and good faith operation of the government. But in order to be able to make heads or tails, I mean, it's our Article 1, Section 3, Constitution obligation of citizens to provide instruction to our public officials. Be able to do that, you have to know what you're going to be talking about. But in terms of the scope of capital improvements there could be, at some point, there has to be some sort of threshold, time-based threshold as to how far down the road are you trying to make Marshall be Marshall. Leave it up to our children and grandchildren. Them to have the opportunity to make plans without everything already being set in stone. So, again, back to my 8th grade social studies class, centralized economic planning by government is a indicator of a Soviet-style government. Starting to see the problems that can arise from that sort of governmental organizational structure. When we're seeing, like in the case of the LDFA, peremptorily going ahead and engaging in a huge land purchase deal without having previously sought the guidance of the city council, who are the real elected officials. When we make these subordinate bodies and give them inclusive discretionary authority as to what to do with the tax dollars, it removes the closeness of the citizens to the government.
Seeing no one else in the audience, we'll close the public hearing for the capital improvement plan. And moving on to the next item, which is old business, and there isn't any.
we,
We need to take action.
Need to take action on
Before we
the,
move to old business, let's entertain a motion to accept the 2026 to 2032 capital improvement plan for the city of Marshall and recommend it for approval by city council. Entertain a motion.
To accept the capital improvement plan for 2026 through 2032 and send it on to council.
Is there support?
Support Fitzgerald.
Moved and supported, Hodo, Fitzgerald. Now, we are open for comments regarding that before we vote.
So,
Please.
just a reminder about what the capital improvement plan is for. I know that it was in our packet from last month, and it's in there again this month. This is a tool that is a guide for future capital improvements for the city of Marshall. It is not all-encompassing. I believe the threshold is $20,000, that the value of the improvement is before it gets onto the capital improvement plan. What we do as a part of this is we identify and prioritize, and also try to target the timeline at which those improvements would happen. Every year, you might have the same item on here for multiple years, and the year that it actually is intended to happen might shift. The priority might shift depending on what else is on the list. So tonight, we just held a public hearing, and like we just said, we're trying to get approval to send this on with your recommendation to city council for approval. And so at the last meeting, we had a little bit of discussion about which items on the list the planning commission really cares about, right? Or which ones might be, because looking through the list, it's like, oh my gosh, do we need to focus on the water treatment plant items, right? And things like that. So I did a quick flip through this paperwork, and I thought I'd draw your attention to a few of the items that might help the discussion. Honestly, on that first page, I didn't have anything that was kind of highlighted for me to kind of call attention to. Things I was looking for were things like sidewalks for connectivity, right? We care about what's going on in the parks and the green space, and what other kind of improvements. And Marguerite would have maybe a better handle on some of the other DPW items that we might be interested in. But on the second page, you'll see, let's see, the second item is sidewalk repairs that are just citywide, right? So that's kind of an investment, ongoing investment in sidewalks for across the city. And then the next section starts the Parks Department, where we have improvement at Stewart's Landing. This is where the Brooks Fountain repairs that we're targeting to be done in 2030 are called out. Carver Fountain is also in a state of some pretty bad disrepair. And then the Riverwalk is kind of an ongoing maintenance item. It's interesting to note that is our most used park in the city, even though, it's, you don't think of it as a park.
It's a linear park.
Yes, it's a linear park, right? And so there's this whole series from 1B through 3B for Riverwalk repairs. And you will also notice that we generally try to go after grants to help with some of those park repairs. There are athletic field renovations, which the athletic fields are kind of right that line between a parks or a rec asset, but they're in need of maintenance as well. In the 25-year master plan for Ketchum Park, the next phase that is identified in that master plan is the kind of Great Lawn, and so that's where we get some of these designations are from that 25-year master plan for that particular park. And there is, on North Ketchum, a new pavilion is called out. There is, honestly, the small pavilion that is on that north side is probably going to get demolished before we're able to replace it. It's in really bad shape. And so some of these items related to the north side of Ketchum Park are kind of tied to some of that work. We've got some parking lot work associated with the parks, bathroom. We have a bathroom on the north side of Ketchum Park that does not function. It needs some plumbing repair. And there's a couple of options regarding that. There's a full replacement or there's a repair option in there. We've got a request for work at the sand volleyball courts and sorry. And then there are playgrounds kind of throughout town that are in a cycle of replacement. On the third page, we start getting into major streets work where I could kind of call out different ones that have non-motorized improvements associated with the street work. So in, that major streets category on sheet 3, there's, 4 in a row that have, well, the first one is the traffic circle reconstruction around the fountain, which would have some pedestrian elements to it that I would think you would like to know about. And then, yeah, and then,
She's burying the lead a little bit, but one of the biggest focus of the street work related thought is pedestrian safety.
yeah.
So not some elements. Clarify.
Thank you. And then the next 3 items also have, non-motorized improvements associated with them on page 4, which is the next page. Partial reconstruction at Forest Street and Rose Street and Oak all have, non-motorized improvements as part of those projects. Next, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, page 5, sorry, which is actually page 9 of 16 in the packet. We get into stuff like at the farmer's market. There's a goal for having a new pavilion for the farmer's market. I think that's probably something that you guys would be interested in. It's not an immediate, it's not in the near future, but we've got it 4 or 5 years out here. So something to consider as part of planning. And then on that same page, under LDFA, they have a pedestrian path connecting the industrial park and the South NIA to the rest of town. And I think that ties directly to our goals for walkability in the city. Page am I on? Page 10 of 16, we get into basically all of the items associated with the South NIA. I think you are probably interested in, it's really, as that development, those will come to Planning Commission as those phases are developed. It's not like we have anything imminent, but you should be interested in that. And then I think the rest of my pages, I didn't find anything that, not that you shouldn't care about the rest of those, but I didn't find like a direct tie that I thought was worth kind of noting. Did I miss something that you would expect would kind of tie to like the, master plan or walkability, connectivity, future development for the city?
And Marguerite, for those people that might be watching, would you please introduce yourself and what you do for the city?
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm Marguerite Davenport. I'm the Director of So what does that mean? That means I oversee water, wastewater, DPW, and engineering. And officially, I'm the city engineer. So the rest of the pages are a lot of my stuff outside, as well as which commercial, hospitality, DPW, except for electric. I don't oversee the electric utility. So for Marcia's question, I'll add that our water main replacement projects are tied to streets projects. So you'll see, you may be like, well, I just saw that project. Well, we list the water main component of it in the water fund, and then the street component in the street fund. Particularly because we try to balance the funding when we do those projects. The NIAs are very much tied to future development, as you're aware. South NIA plans have not really changed in the last couple of years as far as their concept. They have adjusted their order in which they would potentially develop, but we don't have anything really. Eminent on that, as far as we know. The water department and wastewater department have some large expenditures for future expansion related to the Millbrook housing project. That is because for their future phases, they're going to require a lift station to get, because of the site grading, they need a lift station on that site. And because they are putting in a lift station, we are trying to piggyback on that and make that a larger lift station for future planning of areas further to the south. So we only have one river crossing for our sanitary sewer of Kalamazoo River. And so that's a concern and also something we want to make note of for the future, that it's a gravity, it's a hydraulically maintained crossing. It's a siphon, which means it has no mechanical components. It works great. We had it assessed, but it will run out of capacity. And so we want to put in a mechanical pumping system for the future development. And this would support everything south of the river and probably west of, call it South Marshall. So that's a connection development, connectivity of our neighborhoods. And then on the water side, there's some additional river crossings related to that development and our future development that we would anticipate needing as the development comes online.
Would you like to take some questions to help?
I'm happy to take questions. I was thinking of one specific thing, but I can't find it right now.
Are there any questions for Marguerite? Carl?
Well, first of all, Marguerite, thank you for the detail and the attention that clearly went into the development of this plan, looking out over 5 years plus. So appreciate it. I think it covers a lot of ground in terms of safety and continuity of services, improving our community recreation. It's a lot, for sure. So thank you for that. To the point about it kind of being hard to read, I do think we can kind of format it and work in a way to make this a little bit more comprehensible so that your job is easier with us and with the city in terms of, clearly highlighting which ones are linked to our strategic plan, which ones are kind of statutory, like if we don't do this, we don't meet requirement. Yeah, absolutely. So, I'd be happy to be part of that if you want to think about that for next year, because I think we could get more leverage, at least more understanding and knowledge, and make your job easier, hopefully. So that would be great. Quick question on the roads, and some of these are going to be, maybe these are more ignorant questions on my part, but I saw a lot of additional road work, which is great. We had a lot of paving that went on a few years ago, right? Which was outstanding. I see some things that are clearly in my mind, capitalized, and some of the things I see here, sometimes I think about as repair or operational. And those roads that were paved 3 or 4 years ago, or whenever they were paved, they're in need of a lot of crack sealing, and, like, we're gonna lose those roads if we don't stay on top of them. And would I see that in here, or is that in a totally different budget?
Crack sealing is operational.
Mm-hmm.
That is a joint decision between myself and the finance department.
Okay.
So for it to be so it can be capitalized and be handled in the annual budget. Capitalization is more about, does it extend the life of the asset?
Right, right.
Our capital improvement plan only includes items that are $25,000 or more, and would not be taken care of like in an operational, like an annual.
Gotcha. So, okay, then that's what you deal with. Well, then, I guess it's still a comment about let's not lose sight of the existing streets, because that can cost us money in the long term if we don't stay on top of those.
Well received. We are
All right.
working on a asset management plan for the streets. We just completed all the local street phaser ratings. And you might notice that I have a lot of funding pegged for 2020, 2030, 2031. And that is because we currently have a street millage.
Mm-hmm.
It is a 10-year millage and will be paid off at that time. And we are looking to go for a renewal of that millage. Hopefully in less mills than it is today.
Right,
With
right.
the tax revenue increasing, our tax base increasing, we can probably get the same or the needed funding for less mill per property, if you will.
Awesome. Okay,
But in the meantime,
okay,
we still need to do cracks.
okay.
And pavement mark.
I don't have that many questions, I only have a couple more. There's a line item on the first page about the expanded storm water district, especially with regard to the new site, et cetera. Although, as I read it, it seems like we're taking over operational costs, but not necessarily, I didn't understand the capital costs here.
Yeah, so these are a placeholder. I don't
Okay.
actually know what they will be.
Okay,
I just anticipate that there will be capital expenditures out at the major campus. And so, some of that is like planning work that we're doing. So even engineering work, I say utility planning,
Yeah.
utility master planning, not city master planning. We will put those planning dollars in the CIA.
yeah,
Because of the amount of money.
right, yeah. A lot of times that upfront engineering work gets capitalized. I got it, okay.
Yeah, especially in
All right.
state infrastructure projects. They will, finance will capitalize, the engineering, design engineering, and construction engineering.
Awesome,
The stormwater district is a unique animal, and, we're developing what that asset management plan and capital project plan will look like for the future.
okay,
And that will have its own funding through a special assessment.
gotcha. All right, well, thank you very much. Appreciate everything you do. Yeah.
Ian?
I'd be kind of curious to see what you and Carl could do from a spreadsheet perspective, because I bet you it would be beautiful.
I would love to get rid of the spreadsheet. It's not actually my baby,
Yeah,
but I'm happy to have some comments to push us a different way. And
Yeah.
it's not that I don't like a spreadsheet, it's just, down, like you can see how big it is.
Yep.
We have 6, 7 directors who input, if it's versions,
yeah. And
go to second level staff and.
and just to echo what Carl had said and reinforce what Barry had shared too, just making it as easily digestible and visible as possible for young and old eyes and rapidly declining like mine seem to be now.
A
Ooh, yeah, awesome. I think the other thing that I would have my laptop in front of me, but it died today, so that was a nice update in my work life, but hey, so it goes. I believe there was a line item for improvements to the north parking lot, so between Michigan and Mansion, or? And from a placemaking perspective and just kind of building off of the momentum of what we saw by the library and that space, I would love to see enhancements to that space, just to continue to get people outside, downtown, enjoying the space. So I just wanted to acknowledge that and say, that's great. More of those types of things are very welcomed. I mean, anything with the athletic fields, the parks, I mean, again, it's as health and wellness play is the type of community you want to be in, so it's great to see that in the mix. Fountain, absolutely, but also just making this community more people-centric than car-centric, I think will pave the way, that's a bad way to say that, for just a better community in general. I think those were the only things outside of, again, sharing my thanks. This is a huge document. It's cool to get underneath the hood and know that the community can get underneath the hood and see really what's happening and what that's going to mean 5-6 years out. So thank you.
So what Ian's referring to about north parking lots on page 5 under the DDA, so we're titling it North Activation Zone. And it's an idea that we would replicate some of the features that we implemented in Lot 10, which is on Copper, and the library lot, and do something like that.
One more thing, love knowing that the Great Lawn is in the mix for Ketchum Park. That 3-phase plan for Ketchum Park is exceptional, and good to know that it'll be, and for folks online, phase 1 was basically the Brooks Pavilion, is that what we call it? Was the
Cronin
Cronin,
Pavilion.
sorry, Cronin.
Yeah.
Thank you for your contribution. But that whole space there, that was the first kind of wave. So you got the Great Lawn, and you go to the north side, and ultimately maybe even all the way out to the point with connectivity by, say, the Highlight as an example. So the idea of getting more people, more access to the park from different angles, and having through lines through it. So if you wanted to go for a big hike or bike ride through the community, you now have that ability. After saying that, I also want to acknowledge just the getting the sidewalks out to the industrial park, because there's connectivity to Brooks Nature Area, another key asset in the community. So the more we can, ride our bike or walk out there, I think, again, the better off we'll be. Thank you.
If I could just,
Marcia?
thank you. When we added the Great Lawn for Ketchum Park on the plan, there's a whole series of series of projects at Ketchum Park, right? And, we are always looking for ways to tie some of those hopeful improvements, right, to the needs at Ketchum Park. And so it kind of is driven by what funding is available and, what pavilion's gonna fall down, or, what we really need to kind of take care of as far as a need. But I appreciate we have not lost sight of that 25-year master plan for Ketchum Park. And I think that's just something worth noting.
Tim?
I don't have any specific questions for you, Marguerite, but I just want to throw my 2 cents in. In the police department, the community camera project, this is a priority ranking of 2, but I wouldn't sleep on this one, because this could change, this could be a real factor for safety and security for the town. It's been super effective. A lot of you can know my background, and I'm in private, I'm in corporate security now, and cameras have changed the game for us. And it's not from a surveillance state perspective, which gets a lot of negative, but it's victim focused. And from some of the particular crimes that we experience here, we would see reductions. Reductions have been seen up to 40% in some communities that have community camera programs. But specifically, like property crimes, like vehicle break-ins, package thefts, vandalism, those types of things are those have significant reductions in communities that have these things. So I just want to put my 2 cents in for that.
I can provide a little bit of info because I happen to be on that committee. And that is an active committee. We are, kind of trying to look for what options are out there for cameras, and what our probably phased plan for that project, what the more immediate needs are, and how to kind of implement the kind of broad variety of camera and security elements that we would be looking at to secure buildings, sites, parks, the kind of a whole, not just asset management, but also, there's just so many good things you can do with it. I've learned a lot. I have some experience in security, but it's been very interesting to learn about the recent developments and what is able to be done. So it is an active, even though it might be noted as a number 2 priority, I think that just comes down to when it would be kind of fully funded by City Council.
Does that create not that you would know exactly, does that create a sub-department within the police department?
And it
For
doesn't
monitoring purposes?
It doesn't have to. It depends on the program that you go with. A lot of them are cloud-based now.
Okay.
So, for example, the one that we use at Consumers is cloud-based. There's so many different varieties you can go. It depends on who your vendor will be. And I'm happy to share any information that I can with. We've had a lot of success with our programs. So.
Yeah, I'm certain our group would be happy to take whatever info you have to offer.
Aaron? Oops, go ahead.
Sorry, I'll just note that the lease has 2 items on here, not because they don't have a lot of projects, but they don't have a lot of
$25,000 ones?
structure, there's a lot of things that are just operational. But they have body cameras on there, and I don't think that they were gonna list community cameras as a priority 1 over body cameras,
Right.
That makes sense.
right?
Yeah,
Right,
completely.
you wouldn't
That's a
do
no-brainer.
that as a manager, so I think it's just perception of what's priority from the department.
Right.
That's why I probably got it too.
I know the term $1 billion gets thrown around a lot, but I think I saw an item that came from Ring and said that there could be as much as $1 billion taken off people's front porch just during the holidays. $1 billion? So I don't know how much more that could be helped, but I think people know who's got Ring and who doesn't. Aaron? Marcia, do you want anything else? I'm just going to go through a few things. That Excel program, by the way, that is used to create has been the same for over 20 years that I've been on here. And I used to be able to read it, by the way. Barry, I had better seeing at that time. So yeah, that would be a great improvement. And it probably wouldn't be $25,000, so we might be able to sneak it in there. I've got just a couple of quick questions that may or may not relate to the CIP. And we'll probably get there, but the safety issue, as we deal with it, we happened to hear some comments at the JPC meeting last night about the safety of the new crisscross area over the expressway. And I know that that's outside the city limits, but are you involved at all in in coming up to that from the city? Have you been working with the state of Michigan in regards to what happens past West Drive and before you actually have to make the first light?
Not in depth. I'm informed on a need-to-know basis, which they exist. But our city jurisdiction has right now.
But your voice is huge.
Yes.
It is with the state. And this wasn't at night, this is just during the day. But as you're approaching those areas, and it was brought up at last night's meeting, the do not enter signs are facing you as you come up there. And they can be extremely confusing for good drivers, let alone people that might be questioning. And I'm not sure why there isn't painted arrows, large painted arrows to help, get you across those sections, because obviously you can't turn right onto that crisscross, and there's a sign there. That sign also looks like it's saying, do not enter moving forward. And so any comments that you can help with those and the lighting at night of those crisscrosses, those are the things that came up last night. So if you have any influence at all, please pass that along.
Yeah, certainly. What I do know is that the signage has been sparse. And then if it's snowing, there was some issues in our last big snow, if you were coming south on Michigan Ave, to turn left, like if you were eastbound. This is on the other side, not the bridge itself, on the other section. But on the bridge, lights are planned, they're not installed yet. And signage came up today in a call I was on. So I will voice that we had that.
Yeah. In all fairness to MDOT, last night's comments too were in regard to the fact that they had to get that thing open as quick as they could. So there was a possibility that there could be more lighting still coming and that they just haven't got to. I saw them out there working today, digging underground, and I'm sure that part of that was, putting in some of those. So yeah, anything that you can pass along would be great. People are gonna get used to it. If anybody's gone to get off 94 onto Westnedge and Kalamazoo, that's probably the first crossover underneath the bridge that was put in, at least off 94 in a long time, and people just, you can just see them, they're looking, you want me to cross that traffic, So this is, this doesn't even have all the semis yet, so this is just people. So please pass that along, that would be great. What is the term non-motorized improvement? What does that include besides sidewalks?
So that would include walk, bike, ride.
Bike, okay,
Non-motorized riding, biking, rollerblading.
okay.
Scootering, strollering. Anything that we would envision.
Non-car.
families, multiple abilities, wheelchairing.
Non-car related, non-automobile related, okay.
Can be pavement markings on the road if you're doing like a left turn,
right.
Like that's included. I mean, traditionally you think of like a pathway or something separated. from the road.
The next one is kind of like that crossover out there. One of the other questions last night, will there be would you know if there will be a hydrant at the new Dunkin' Donuts, Jimmy John's location out there?
No, so there's water main along Michigan Ave
On the north side?
on the north side that would be between the road and the proposed development. And it goes to the west, and then at the edge of that parking lot, it goes to the north and loops up back behind the plaza.
Does that have to be asked for by the fire department or by the township fire department? If to get a hydrant there?
That would be requested based out of the standards of separation. There's a hydrant by, on the west side of Taco Bell.
Is there? So if that's the case, then that's less than 100 feet from the new development. Okay.
Was there a concern that there wasn't enough hydrant?
There was just a question if there was a hydrant there, because
Yeah.
it's hard to see if there was. It wasn't located on the site plan.
Yeah, the only info that I had was that the fire department didn't have any concerns, and so I didn't have that existing fire hydrant, wherever it was not located on the new plans that were provided. Yeah.
It might be off, or they, I remember this, I have it, let me look it up if you don't mind. because typically when you install the water main, you space the hydrants accordingly. And so there is one, so we'll understand how that's an outlet there that's taking up that section of asphalt isn't used for anything. There's a hydrant on the west side on the Michigan Ave, so southwest corner of that development and southeast corner of that development. There are 2 hydrants there. And
We're still on the north side of Michigan Avenue, right?
yes.
Okay, yeah.
The south side has its own stuff.
Thank you. Again, another maybe off question. What was the tree evaluation by Davy Tree Service for the city? I got to speak with one of the, happened to be a lady that was doing the evaluation. I think she said she worked for Davy.
In 2024, the city received a grant from the DNR for tree inventory and assessment. So we issued bids and hired Davy Resource Group to perform that inventory and assessment. So they located approximately 5,500 trees within the right-of-way and public spaces in the city. And we now have that inventory, and they are wrapping up the additional components of that, which are like a maintenance plan, and then formalizing the assessment of our existing tree canopy with suggestions for maintenance and future improvement.
Great. And that wouldn't be, the result of that would say that we needed so many trees to replace the ones that needed to be removed because of danger or disease or whatever, and would that be something that would be on the CIP or no? Because it's in the future, or would that be handled through?
We don't have it today because it's not, we have the inventory,
Yeah.
but we don't have all the data.
Evaluation and cost,
Yeah, we don't have the
Okay.
complete evaluation, but yes.
like next year possibly?
Yeah, so, possibly like the planting event, planting of additional trees. If we're removing trees or trimming trees and we're hiring a contractor or making plans to do that in-house, we're not.
Okay,
It's an operational cost.
great. And I've just got a couple other things that we can do during board reports.
Okay,
If you're going to stick around for just a few minutes.
here.
Okay.
I'm yours.
Anybody else for Marguerite? Thank you for being so thorough and being here tonight.
No problem. Thank you for asking me.
Now, do we have a motion down there, Brandy? Any other comments regarding the CIP? Hearing none, those in favor of the motion to move this along to council signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same. And that motion carries. Under 8A, we have a new appointment. Tim, certainly, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So unfortunately, I have to resign from the JPC due to a conflict that I have. I have a professional development opportunity that's going to take place on exactly the same meeting day. We've set our schedule for the year already, and this thing is going to need my full time and attention. So I won't be able to be at any of the meetings, and unfortunately, I'm the vice chair, so it's in a leadership position, so I hate to put it in a little bit of a snarl. But I'll say, as you know, you've been there, and Aaron, you've been there, that it's moving along pretty well. I mean, we've went over a bump, and it's forward-focused, but we're gonna need another commissioner to step up to do that. So I don't know if we have to have discussion about that, or,
That's good. Thank you very much for clarifying why you're stepping down. The way the rules are written here is that I appoint the person to replace Tim. And because this isn't the military, I would rather have a volunteer. Aaron is doing a great job on the Joint Planning Commission. And I'm still on the Joint Planning Commission. I am going to miss the next two meetings due to the fact that I'll be in Florida, but that's what we have an alternate for. We didn't get a chance to talk to Carter, but Carter has stepped up before when asked to be an alternate. So looking for a permanent position on the Joint Planning Commission. Otherwise, I will appoint someone. And waiting for the hand to go up or another suggestion possibly. Ian?
Would be open to considering the position. I do need to note that I would be unavailable to attend the February meeting as well as the Planning Commission meeting that month. As it stands now, I don't have conflicts for professional reasons. They will come up. So would I have perfect attendance? No. Would I make a strong effort to be present as often as possible? Yes. So with that, just want that disclaimer out there, and yeah, would entertain that role.
And this isn't a secret. We're kind of working on possibly relieving Ian of his responsibilities with the
Zoning Board of Appeals.
Zoning Board of Appeals and possibly getting somebody else involved with the Zoning Board of Appeals. And that will help a lot at home, if no place else. So Ian, I would accept that as yes, and I will be appointing Ian as our replacement for Tim Fitzgerald.
So we'll just have to make sure that, if that's how you want to proceed. So next month, we would still be one short at,
We will, and as long as we have at least two representatives from the city of Marshall, then they're able to have a vote, so.
yep.
So we don't necessarily need you there at the February meeting. All right? If things change, you can do that at a later time. We'll let the Planning Commission, Joint Planning Commission Chair, Joanne, let her know. Thanks. Okay. Anything else under reports, recommendations, and new business? Seeing none, the next item is the public comment on non-agenda items. Is there anyone that would like to comment on non-agenda items? Mr. Adams, would you like to comment?
But I'm just wondering, are these just shooting from the hip estimates? $50,000 to replace a office carpet. Okay, so things are very turbulent at this point in time in terms of take hold of and its decision. And happening in onion layers all the way up the local up to the global level. And there can be a whole big shift in the way things are. Happening within the next few weeks or few months. There's huge opposition to And statewide, realizing extent of what a real-world threat to a amounts of electricity. One out there, we're using like 4 times the amount that the city uses. Water issue and criticism by saying that there's a closed loop system, but what a closed loop system does is treat water, and if there is a release, accidental release, then it's a whole different environmental catastrophe of a different kind. Things are happening nationally, globally, with what looks like is going to be our entry into World War III against Iran, Russia, and China. Iran has a mutual defense pact treaty with China and Russia. If you attack Iran, you attack China and Russia. So things could get really messy. Take it into consideration.
Seeing no one else in the, seeing no other of the public, we'll move on to board reports, and I just have a couple quick questions. So is there any, start with Marcia?
I'm good, thank you. I don't have
Okay.
anything else.
Aaron?
Got nothing, thank you.
Tim?
I've got nothing.
Ian?
MACC meeting on the 28th of January at the fire department. So for those watching online, encourage your attendance. Really looking to get the next round of leadership appointed and get 2026 off to a strong start. First event that I'm aware of will be the tree planting the end of April with the goal of planting 100 trees around the community.
This coincides with Arbor Day, but yeah, sweet. Sweet. Carl?
Nothing for me, thanks.
Just a couple quick questions, and Marcia can help with this too. I noticed that the Consumers Bank is open for business. Did we get a letter to confirm a relationship between the two entities?
So we did issue a temporary certificate of occupancy for that facility after I went out there and looked and confirmed that the path is cut open between the two parking lots. I did ask some additional questions. They initially sent me some snippets of communication between Sprinkles and consumers. It was enough, I said, I'm gonna need the actual agreement. I believe that today it came through my email, but honestly, I haven't been able to review it. But it is the expectation that we would receive a copy of that, just for the files to confirm that.
Sure, if you could put that on record for the February meeting, just,
Okay.
Just that you got, that you
Clarify that. yeah.
clarified it, that you got it, because that was one of the things that we asked for.
Yep, and so the reason that we issued a temporary certificate of occupancy is because there's still planting work that needs to be done associated with those changes. And
Bit of cable work that's sticking up in the air, too.
I don't know what they cut.
One of them's red, so I know what that is.
But, so that will be revisited. We gave them until June 1st for that temporary certificate of occupancy in hopes that in early spring I can go out there, with hopefully their engineer or whoever, to, give them some guidance on, there's street trees. I know that even Marguerite noticed the street trees that they planted are more like a bush-style tree. That's not allowed, instead of just a singular trunk, so.
Looked good to me. I said it looked good to me when I was out there. Yeah. Was it a Juneberry or something like that? Multi-stem?
They're multi-stem.
It's beautiful, not in the right way.
And do you know if they did they re-asphalt that
They did not yet.
10-foot piece there?
They did not yet. And so that is part of that stretch between the
Because
two.
we can't have parking lots and driveways without it asphalt, correct? And
Agreed.
of course, it's time of year,
Agreed, yeah, so it's,
crushed
they
limestone.
need to repair the curb,
Yeah.
and they need to,
Okay.
do that piece of asphalt,
Well-
that's all part of the,
Well, they came to an agreement because there's an opening.
Yep.
So that's all we really care about, is that it's back to the original approved site plan. And then that'll support it, that letter will support it.
yep.
This is a personal kind of thing, because my grandma lived there, but Mulberry and Michigan Avenue, the two houses that have been removed. And now I see they were in there yesterday removing some big trees in there. Do we have any kind of a proposed use of that space after they took those two houses down? And is there any kind of, anything to keep the soil from coming out into the street as they're doing the excavation? And not excavation, as they did the removal.
Right, so now that the site work's done, property owner will be required to it. And then there's been no official plans of what's intended.
Okay. So they were allowed to take the two houses down without any,
Like soil erosion sedimentary,
or any permit from you or?
they got a house demolition permit.
Public Service doesn't permit demolition except for we inspect the disconnection from utilities. So the demolisher has to disconnect the utilities in an appropriate way, leave them exposed. Our staff go out, they inspect them, certify that they are capped and all those things appropriately, and then they can be backfilled for future connection when the property owner wants to do that.
Those two lots are on your radar?
Yes.
Okay, and then the extra lot behind the Royal Ribs or
Royal swine.
Royal Swine, that's on your radar as well, I assume?
There's a plan for that, correct?
We haven't seen it.
We haven't, it's not been officially,
There's a
They're not
floated
really on
community
that
Yes.
until they
for that one.
yeah.
utility.
So they're just allowed to take things down without that?
Yeah, you can demolish as long as you meet the requirements of the
As long as it's not in the historical district?
So I'll comment on that a little bit. So I did reach out to the State Historic Preservation Office. Because currently our building department doesn't have any kind of,
Map.
well, we have, so we're working on some cross-referencing between home property locations and whether or not they're in the historic landmark district, okay? But there is nothing, and I've discussed this with those preservation office, there is nothing that our office can do to really stop somebody from demolishing a historic property, whether or not it is in the historic landmark district. Following up with them, I had some additional conversations about the possibility of what we're planning on doing is in our programs, kind of noting which properties are in the historic landmark district. As if someone comes in and we know that they're in the historic landmark district, we can provide some guidance. SHPO does request that if an asset is demolished, that they receive some notification. And if there is a threshold, we don't know what that threshold is. If there is some threshold that SHPO would consider reassessing our historic landmark district based on, whatever assets are lost or modified significantly. So I have, I expect I share similar concerns with others on this board about, that designation and making sure that we're kind of, being sensitive to that. We just don't have, we don't have a local historic district that would have local ordinances that would drive any other kind of requirements as far as historic properties in our community. I know that has been brought up previously, and it was not palatable at that time. That is, you know,
Well, it was so palatable at one time that the hospital ended up moving houses
right,
to make way for expansion.
right.
And that pressure came from other areas.
Yeah. In addition to that, we have work that we need to do on the South Marshall Avenue Bridge over Rice Creek. Unlike the structures in the historic landmark district that don't have the controls that Marshall is saying, that is a registered structure
It is.
at the state. So that is a whole other lane of things that we will have to work on as the city to have, replace, all the things we may need to do with that bridge. But that is a project that's on our radar from a planning standpoint.
Right.
And start outlining what our options are, what the costs are for each option, and how we go about doing that.
But just as,
As a registered structure.
so, but that, even a registered structure, if it was not owned by the city, so the city is trying to be a responsible owner, right? But even a registered structure, a private citizen could tear down a registered structure or significantly modify a registered structure without any reprimand, right? And there's no consequences, right? There's really no consequences other than the loss of that designation. So it's just something to consider, right? Like, I know that if you are, you know, appreciative of those assets to our community, and you're thinking that, you know, the building department or, you know, the city in some other way has teeth in regards to what we can and can't do when someone comes to us to ask to demolish a building. I have looked into it, and it is we have a difficult time saying no.
Yeah. As a realtor and advocate for private property rights, I am in favor of tearing things down if they need teared down. I actually showed both of those houses. They were in such a state of disrepair, we couldn't sell them. That's why they tore them down. They were listed for sale first. It would have cost, you know, 1.5 times the value of the structure to get it into a livable state.
Between the two of you, if you could do something about the soil erosion situation, permit required, and et cetera, et cetera. There's very few communities I work with that don't have a soil erosion program, and it's for a reason, especially those that aren't as close to the river as we are. But also, you know, just general practices, almost, I mean, a lot of communities have them. Counties have them, and then as well.
Right, so you're suggesting we have a local program specific to the city of Marshall, we don't rely on the county's program?
Well, I'm talking about like those 3 properties that are now sitting there all bare, the soil's all bare, and the excavator was in there yesterday and probably today, and the trucks are going in and out of there, and there's nothing to keep their wheels clean, and et cetera, so they're carrying dirt all over.
Yeah.
I mean, those kind of things are controlled. Also, if they're gonna sit there until May, or at least mid-April, you know, a soil erosion fence around it to help keep the soil from blowing over into the neighbors and so forth. It's just a responsible thing. I would have thought that we would have had that.
We would require that of a new site, right? It's just that I don't think that we have, you know, considered that well as far as a demolition.
Because they haven't introduced.
application.
They're not disturbing enough earth to warrant a permit under the county. We don't have a permit mechanism at the city.
Yeah, that's why I said, that's why between the two of you, putting your heads together, and not that we need more permits, but that is one that's very practical.
I renovated a historic structure in this town, and it cost about $110,000, and the permits were a good portion of that.
Yeah,
$110,000.
exactly.
So I'm not a huge advocate of more permits.
Exactly.
I understand your concern.
Marguerite, we really appreciate your contributions to the city of Marshall and the great work that you're doing. So thank you for being here tonight. All right. Any other questions? Any other board reports? Hearing none, Meeting is adjourned.